Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy you're tuning in today. My guest today is Jeremy Beland. I met Jeremy through my course, originally Probate Investing Simplified, but I'm so interested in talking to him about his business has evolved over time. Jeremy started his real estate investing journey in January of 2017. His original markets were New Hampshire and Massachusetts. He started as a wholesaler, but has since grown a team that does flips, hotels, buy and holds, as well as wholesaling. 2 years ago, Jeremy started investing in another market in Western New York, which includes Buffalo and Rochester. He's a husband, he's a dad, and he has a very interesting military background, which I'm going to let him tell you about. So, welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Thank you, Sharon. Pleasure to be here. Always been a great fan of you, your coaching, and your podcast, and it's an honor to be on your show today. So thank you very much.
Well, I'm happy to have you. I want to have you circle back and tell everybody about yourself a little bit, how you got started, and I just give a short overview of your bio. So fill people in on the details a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm just a normal guy from a blue collar family. Didn't even graduate high school. Took some college courses. So to say that you need to be highly educated to do well in this business is not necessarily true, although you should always be educating yourself on this business. But anyway, that's something else entirely. But, back in, the early 2000s, after 9/11, which I turned 25 that day, shortly after that, I got married and started to move into suburbia and have the two kids and the white picket fence, and had a nice sales job, and I was doing really well. And life was great. And all of a sudden, this recession thing came along. And right before this recession thing, I was starting to get sick of just doing the 9 to 5 sales job. And was trying to think, I'm in my early 30s, thinking about, man, I really want more out of life. And I started just learning more about real estate investing, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Obviously, like many of us, the book changed my world and just kind of opened that door of real estate investing. So right around 2008, in fact, I ended up taking a Trump University course, which ended up getting sued for fraud or something, some weird thing. But right when I took that, the recession hit, and during that time, I left one sales position from the company I was working with to another one, and my whole world just fell out underneath me. I went from making good 6-figure income to basically like $35,000 a year, and within 2 years, I had a ton of equity in the house. We just put on a new addition. Life was great. Within a year, lost all of that equity because, if some of you remember at that time, things got rough, and they got rough really fast. Mm-hmm. And then I found myself out of a job. They weren't doing any loan remodifications. I couldn't do any refinance because I didn't have any equity in the house. So I was scrambling like crazy to try to find work. I just couldn't find anything. And then, and there was a lot of people who were more highly educated than me at that time that were willing to take less money for those positions, those limited positions out there. So to make a long story short, I just couldn't find any work. And I was like 34 years old. I had 2 kids and a wife. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I joined the military. I couldn't make real estate investing work because the banks weren't really doing anything. They were just kind of holding on. And my idea of wholesaling at that time was go find a property on the MLS, lock it up, and sell it to some investor. So I joined the Air Force Reserves just prior to the cutoff age deadline. So it was a basic training on my 34th birthday with kids that were like 17 years old. And even the instructors were 10 to 15 years younger than me, yelling at my face. It was quite a wild experience, but it allowed me to reset my life at that time, which was great. And also, because I learned about real estate investing, rather than going to foreclosure and bankruptcy, which I was teetering on at that time, I actually found a local investor that I knew to short sale my house to. So it ended up bridging that gap, gave me like the reset button I needed along with the military. Went away for 6 months with training, came back. Unfortunately, I ended up getting a divorce with my wife shortly after that, and went out into the next town over, got myself another sales job, decided to build myself back up, and found myself in the same position, 6-7 years later, being like, all right, I have a good job. Am I going to do this the rest of my life? Where am I going? And that's when I started to look into real estate investing again, started to read some books, listen to some CDs, found some podcasts. And one of the podcasts brought me to a coach that does wholesaling. And after giving some thought about what I wanted to do, I said, that's going to be my one thing. That's going to be my niche. I'm going to get in there because I have no money and I'm going to start wholesaling. So I hired a coach. sold my condo that I was living in with my two kids, moved into a small little apartment, and took whatever little equity I had in that. And I bought the coach. I spent $6,000 for my business, and we were off and running. And, the rest has been history. I've been pretty successful ever since.
So you started as a wholesaler out of necessity, which is where a lot of people start. And then how long did it take you to segue into flips and rentals and the other strategies?
Long time. So I didn't get my first deal for 90 days. So, I
Mhm.
remember I struggled. It was a struggle bus getting that first deal, and I got $5,000. And even that first year, we only got 10 deals that first year. Again, I was working full time, doing this full time, also being a part-time single parent, with shared custody with my ex-wife. So there was a lot going on at the time, but you just make it work. And we came
Mhm.
into that second year. And at that point, my girlfriend at the time, Michelle, who's now my wife, she was working full time. And at the end of the first year, I'm like, honey, you got to quit your job. Come on full time with me. I need the help. She's like, is it even going to be enough hours? So the end of that first year, December 2017, she started full time with us, our first full time employee. She's been working with us ever since. So needless to say, we had plenty of work for her to do. But we came into 2018, our second year. That was the year we did our first flip. Really started gaining a lot of momentum that year. And it wasn't really into that next year that we decided to really build a team in our third year, get into flips and buy some rentals and things of that nature. So it was kind of an evolution.
Yeah, I would say it was. So you mentioned that you do hotels. Now that has a little bit different meaning for a lot of different people. What do you consider a hotel deal? What level of work?
Yeah, I love wholesales. Are one of my favorite exit strategies. So wholesales are great for wholesalers because they can add a lot of revenue that you typically can't get in this industry just by signing contracts. So a wholesale is basically a property that you buy, take down with your own funds or funds from a private lender, which is what we typically do. Take that property down, and then you just do minimal work in there. A lot of times we'll just go in, clean it out, clean all the junk out. We may professionally clean it. We'll have professional pictures taken. Occasionally, maybe do some flooring or some painting, but you're talking a few $1,000s in and out in a week and have it right back on the market. Where wholesaling is great is on the properties that you get under contract as a wholesaler, the distressed properties that you're assigning to that end investor who wants to keep it as a buy and hold or flip it. There has to be enough meat on the bone to make everything work. But there's this area between really nice houses and those houses where wholesales fit in nicely, where they may need a little bit of love. There's definitely not enough meat on the bone for an investor, but you can buy them, put a little bit of work into them, throw them right on the market. Now they're really nice for that retail buyer. And you can, there's a lot of properties you can make money with, and we love them. We do a lot of wholesales regularly.
It's funny because that came about after I first started wholesaling, that terminology, but we were doing that. We just didn't have a name for it. But maybe at one time I remember doing a roof because the roof had caved in and we
Yes.
cleaned up the drywall in that one room and basically didn't do a lot else, but we got a lot more money for it. And then someone else took on the full rehab to fix it up. And maybe, I don't remember if they kept it or what they did with it, but there are a lot of scenarios where that works very well. And I think sometimes wholesalers miss an opportunity there. They don't take the time to look at that and go, what can I do to move this to the next category, but not do a full out rehab?
I couldn't agree more. We do rehabbing, but it has its pros and a lot of cons that come along with it, especially in today's day and age with the high cost of everything. But we're closing on a wholesale here locally in New Hampshire on Monday that we bought it. We did a brand new roof, we cleaned it out, and that's all we did. Had it listed on the market. Within 2 weeks of us buying it, it was already under contract. And I think we're going to gross about $40,000 on that. And
Wow.
this is not a house that would work as a flip. It's kind of a retail house where somebody just wants to put in a little sweat equity on the weekends to get themselves a nice house in a low inventory market. So they get it below market value, but we get a house and make some money out of it. And we help the seller out of a tough situation at the same time, which is great. One other thing we like to do a lot too with your traditional wholesales is a lot of times we get a lot of houses that are porterhouses and things like that. And this is just a little trick of the trade that I like to do to maximize profits on the back end to your investors buying your assignments is if you have a house that's dirty or has a lot of junk in it, spend your own money, go in and have it cleaned out, hire a few guys, have them throw things into the dumpsters, have it swept, cleaned. That way, when these investors come in, it's really just a matter of perception. Rather than thinking, oh my God, I have 4 dumpsters of stuff. It's going to be all this labor. There's no way I can pay that price. They think, oh, it's clean. All I have to do this is this and this. And it just changes the mindset. And we found that we get a very good 2 to 3 to 1 return on the money we spent on cleaning it out on our assignment. So just a little life hack for some of our wholesalers out there.
I can see where that would work. Going back to the house you mentioned before, so I'm guessing you paid a little bit more than would work for a rehab, but that's another subset of wholesaling, kind of, where you can pay a little more. You can pay a little bit more if you know you're going to sell it to a landlord who's not going to do a full rehab. I had one that had knotty pine everything in it. It was indestructible. Knotty pine cabinets, knotty pine walls, and would do always a full gut rehab. What would that look like if that's what I was going to do? Well, heck, this landlord I sold the property to, he was jumping for joy because there was no way they were going to ever tear up those ugly cabinets. It was just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, we do a lot of those properties. We do probably at least here in the New Hampshire market, a couple at a time each month. We just put a property under contract. Again, so our market's a little bit different than where you're at. So the average price point for a house around here for your beginning single family home is about $400,000. It's not cheap around here. So from a landlord's perspective, we don't do a lot of single family landlording around here. It's really tough to find anything that cash flows. But again, retail buyers are looking for that house, and there's only so much inventory. So we helped the distressed seller out of this house. She moved out. We cleaned it professionally inside and out. We put it under contract a week later. We're going to do pretty good on it. We helped the seller make some money, and it's not something that a flipper could make money on because we looked at those numbers and there's not enough cushion in there. Yeah. But she was facing a foreclosure, so she only could, we had to pay her a certain amount to get her out. There just wasn't enough equity on it. But the person we're selling to, all they have to do is come in, refinish the floors, do some light painting. They'll probably work on it for like a week or two, and that house will be move-in ready. So there's a little niche in there too. But you need to have access to that money to make that happen. And that's tough for a new wholesaler, but you're better to partner up with somebody who can bring that money and make half of something rather than nothing. And that's something I didn't do for my first couple of years. And it's been a game changer since.
That's a great point. You don't always have to have the money if you have a partner that has money.
Yes.
So when you decided to move into new markets, a couple of things come into play. Now, your areas, what is the geographical distance between your markets in New York and New Hampshire?
Geez, that's a good question. It's about an hour and a half flight. I know that, but it's probably a good 6-hour drive.
Okay, so there's a significant difference.
Yeah.
So when you move into new markets, 2 questions. First of all, how did you decide on the markets? That's one thing. And then from the tactical part of the boots on the ground, how does that work? Is that where your team came? You started to build a team, or tell me how that works.
Yeah, so we built our team here in New Hampshire and Massachusetts first, and we got all that solidified. And then we were actually looking to bring our company to the next level of with private lending, and we're reaching out. And matter of fact, I went out to one of your previous guests on your podcast, Chris Noggle. Went out to one of his trainings out there in Buffalo, New York, and my wife and I went out there, and we went out and we were like, wow, look at all the distressed properties around here. They were just everywhere as far as the eye could see. We never saw anything like it. We're like, wow, what a market this would be to wholesale. We know what to do. So, funny story is when we were out there at that training, that's when I proposed to my now wife, Shelly, when we were there. We met our partner from Western New York at that training. So it was just like, everything came together that time. So I have a lot of fond memories, but starting in that market was not easy. We started doing it virtually and it was a disaster. I mean, our cancellation rates were through the roof. We were picking up houses out there. They'd be like $15,000. We're like, we're here, we get, distressed property, like a tear down, it's like 100,000. So I'm like, $15,000. This is awesome. Get out there. And the buyers are like, yeah, the house is worth $7,000. I'm like, what? Because the end value is only like $50,000, $60,000 and it needs that much work to put into it. So we just didn't know what we didn't know. So there was a huge learning curve. And then we hired a guy on the ground who we have a very strong philosophy of how we train our acquisitions, and he just wasn't falling in line. So really for like the first 9 months of our second market, it was a struggle bus. We got one deal and we just couldn't make it work. We were flying with my acquisition guy, Eddie from New Hampshire, to there to help us out. And it was just a disaster. But then my partner out there, who was actually a private lender, lended to this young couple, Emma and Dylan, and they had bought a flip property that went bad, and they turned it into a rental, and they worked their butt off to really make it right with my partner, the lender. And he was so impressed with how transparent they were and how much they wanted to make it work, even though they were making mistakes, which we all do, right? So we said, why don't we give them a shot? He was working full time, came on with us part time. And man, this guy has been blowing things out of the water. And, within his first year and 4 months, he did almost 70 deals.
Wow.
Yeah, he did about 40 deals last year's first calendar year, and he's on pace to do 50 this year. So just doing a tremendous job. And all we do out there is wholesale only.
So he's a partner. He's not just a money partner. He's more of an equity partner too, or no?
Yeah, so my partner Matt, we're both co-founders of it. He brought the money to the table. I brought the training expertise. So he's somewhat of a silent partner on the aspect, but he obviously contributes by bringing us great talent like you did. And then Dylan is our and his wife Emma are our acquisition team, and they are just wonderful people that provide a lot of great value, which is something we take a lot of pride into to these distressed sellers in these situations and problem solving. And he's just been tremendous at that. And and a lot of that success has come from his big heart.
So this is a question I'm always asked. How do you compensate your acquisition people?
We do it straight on percentage. So we give them a straight percentage of the gross assignment that comes in, or I should say the net profit. We may change that in the future. I'm not really sure as we open up to new markets. I know some people do salary and draw type commissions. I'm not sure, but it's worked out so far for us doing a straight commission.
Yeah, most people that I know that have big wholesaling businesses, that's the way they do it because they're motivated to work.
They are, yeah. And for me being in sales, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's worth it to you to pay a little bit more to know the job's getting done.
Right. Yeah, we pay a little bit of a higher commission, I think, but we know that again, they have skin in the game, we have skin in the game. And for me, I don't want turnover in that position. So we take really good care of our people. And, for me, being from a sales background, my 20 years prior to starting my business at 40, I was always, 100% commission. You didn't sell, you didn't work, you didn't perform, you didn't get paid. I like that, especially in this industry, because when I started my wholesaling business, it was the same thing. I didn't get a house under contract. I didn't get paid. So I really like that philosophy throughout the company for everybody.
Well, I like the fact that you consider them team members and that you take good care of them. And I think you can build a really cohesive, successful business if you have the same core philosophies. It's easy to train skills if you've got the right personality, the right culture, those things in place. You can train skills to some degree, but you can never train somebody on ethics and culture. And that is what it is.
Couldn't agree more, and Michelle and I really believe by leading by example and having a great culture and helping the community. As you know, for people who wholesale, the people that we work with are distressed. And, a lot of times they don't know about us until we come into their lives, and we can change their worlds for the better. And I've been through that. So it's really great to pay that forward many times over. But when you're hiring somebody new, it's always not only are they going to do as good as me, but are they going to carry that same kind of culture? And fortunately, we have brought those people in. We've brought some other people in that haven't fit that culture, and they're no longer with us. But finding that culture is really, really important. And, it was one of our biggest concerns when we started to scale into hiring new team members.
Yeah. That gets to a whole new level of new devil, getting that part right. New level, new devil.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us started out, well, probably most of us started out as solopreneurs, and we're kind of finding our way through the whole team building process too. So it's kind of both sides of it. They're new and we're new at doing this at some point.
I love that. And I love the word solopreneur. That's exactly what they are. This is what we talk about in our company. We like to hire solopreneurs. Us as the entrepreneur, we take on all the financial risk of starting the company and putting everything in place for them. But we want that solopreneur that has that entrepreneurial mindset and that drive within them to be part of our team, because you need that type of person to be successful in this business.
Yeah, 100% you do. It's just a given. If you get someone that's a straight employee mindset now, unless they're just an assistant or something like that, it's not that it's bad. They're just not going to be a fit for an entrepreneurial team that's going off in 10 different directions. And you need to be able to
Correct.
turn on a dime
Yes, all the time.
all the time,
Yeah,
every day, all the time,
yeah,
right? So,
100%.
Jeremy, let's talk about probate deals a little bit. Now, as I mentioned, this is how I first met Jeremy. Uh, I like that he uses probates as one of his strategies. But tell me about your experience with probate deals. For me, they were always more lucrative than any other kind of deal.
Yeah, same here. So we've been trying, much like us opening our second market, probate was always a struggle bus for us when we first started the business. We here in New Hampshire, it's kind of an antiquated system how we have to go about getting those probates. We can't really just go down to the county courthouse and pull all that records, and they put it online, but it's really complicated. It took us a long time to really figure out all the details. And that's really what led me to your training was, I'm like, man, we'll get a onesie, twosies here, but we don't have a system in place. And, I wanted to get your training done, which I took personally. And then I had all my acquisition team members do your training as well as part of our training process. So they would understand all the back end things, all the terminologies, what a probate process looks like. So they can, handhold somebody going through probate, which a lot of these times people who are in charge in these probate situations have no clue, right?
I don't know.
And as much as we love attorneys, attorneys aren't always transparent and provide all the information people need to know. So, we would get these onesie, twosie probates, but once we got into your course, we decided to be able to get it done at a better level, and we market heavily to probate. Probate, in my experience, is kind of a lot of follow-up compared to some of the other lists that we do.
Right.
We find an address on probate. We actually market to it for a whole calendar year because you never know where it's going to stand inside that probate cycle. And here in New Hampshire, they could take anywhere from 6 to 8 months. Same, maybe longer in New York with all the attorneys out there. So yeah, but we've had some of our best deals. Our first six-figure flip was from a probate a couple of years ago, where we were just like blown away with how well we did. I recently just bought a townhouse that a probate attorney have, which is a new thing that we're really starting to strive to, is working with probate attorneys. This poor lady, passed away, had no heirs, and the condo association got stuck with the house or the townhouse. So the probate attorney was stuck with this house that had all this debt and stuff, reached out to us through one of our marketing channels, and we were able to relieve that burden from them. But I got it at such a low price, ended up keeping it as a rental property, which is great. Now we're burning that and on the back end of that. And we just did another probate deal recently where we wholesaled it and we made really good money. One of our biggest wholesales to date, actually, here in New Hampshire market.
Wow. And you bring up an interesting point. I always tell people, they say, how long do you market to someone? Well, until you buy the house, someone else buys the house, or they come off your list for some reason. There might be, it's 100% finance deal, which you don't see as much anymore. You may not be able to make money on it because with a probate, you're generally going to have to cash that. You're going to have to cash that house out. You're not going to be able to use creative finance. But it's been my experience over many years, like it's close to 15 years now, that the time you will market to these people can easily be up to a year, because a lot of people get to the year mark and they say, "Oh crap, I'm out of time with this house." Yeah. So it's like you're giving them the overriding message, "I'll be here when you're ready." But the smartest thing you can do is just start marketing to them when the probate's opened, and market as long as that property is available. That's what you do.
100%. So for our team, not only if we contact somebody, right, we have a touch with somebody and have that conversation, not only do they continue to get more marketing from us, because it never ends unless they ask us to take them off the list, which we really don't like to do because it's more work than it's worth. We put them in a regular follow-up. So, the probate deals I talked about, there was a wholesale we did last year, that big six-figure flip that we did, and well, not the rental, but the other two, that six-figure flip was a year of follow-up. And what happened during that time is he was working with a couple other house buying companies like ours at the time. They didn't follow up, but we stayed in touch and kept following up. And a year later, because they had to go back into probate, there was some glitch, it had to go back into probate a second time to clear some stuff up, we were the ones left standing. So, for people in this industry, the money is definitely in the follow-up. You got to be like dedicated and consistent with follow-up. Following up once a month for a whole year made my company $100,000 on that flip, which, you know, you put in, 6 hours of time of follow-up is well worth it. My acquisition guy made really good money on that. And then we just did another one where this family inherited this house. They had a family member that was living in there. They were on drugs. They couldn't get them out. They were trying. We followed up that person for 2 years. Eventually, the family member said, here, you deal with the eviction. We want nothing to do with it. We bought it. We went through an eviction process with her. Then we turned around and we made $60,000. And I didn't even have to put any work into the house.
Isn't that just awesome?
It's just awesome. Just awesome.
The money is in the follow-up. As many as 80% of your deals, not your calls, but your deals will come from follow-up. And Jeremy nailed it. You want to be the last man standing.
Always.
People will drop off. That's the other direct mail statistic is 90% of your competition will quit on or before the third mailing. So just ignore all that. Know that you're in it for the long term. Do what Jeremy did and make a whole bunch of money.
That's the best part.
That's really,
but yes,
really.
Yes.
So, well, I thank you for investing in my course, Probate Investing Simplified, and I love hearing stories of how it made your investing journey with probates easier. So that's a great story.
Well, the investment into your course is small money in the big scheme of things. You provide a ton of information and just tons of great value. If they haven't invested in your course yet, they're doing themselves a disservice. Buy her course, watch the modules, go through everything, learn it. I'm telling you, we have made probably 30 times the amount of money that we bought this course on in just 1 year alone. I mean, it pays for itself within the first 90 days for sure. It's awesome.
I'm going to be using this as a testimonial.
You're more than happy to.
So, Jeremy, tell me your plans for the next, what is your vision for the next years? Where do you see you taking your team?
Well, right now, we talk about taking the team, all of us in the penthouse, all the way to the top. So right now I'm working on my solopreneurs within my team, helping them get some more rental properties for their real estate investing goals, and really helping them to grow the markets. We're striving to be the best in both of our markets, and we're already kind of there, but we want to be bigger and better, provide more value to the area, to the people of those areas, and really spread our reach even further in those areas. So that's what we're going to be striving to do this year, give them, really help them achieve their solopreneur, entrepreneurial goals, financially, but also with true wealth going forward. I want to make as much money as possible, but I really want my team, our team, Michelle and I's team, to make as much money as possible. So we're all in this together as one happy family headed straight to the penthouse. So that's our goal. And we're going to do a lot of work this year to get there.
I like that, headed to the penthouse. I'm going to remember that one. So do you have any final advice for anybody that might be feeling a little bit discouraged right now with their real estate journey?
Real estate is tough and it always ebbs and flows, and there's tons of gut check moments. I still have them today, even though both of my companies are very successful. That's business, and you have to be committed to just keep moving forward, never quit. There's that the quote of being like 3 feet short of gold. That's really what happens to most of the people. I've seen a lot of wholesalers come into this business of real estate investors, and they get discouraged because it's not as easy as social media makes it look, or people make it, their friends tell them. And it is a struggle, but you just got to keep moving, keep going. And then eventually you're going to strike gold. And then you may fall into a ditch. Then you're going to have to climb out of that ditch before you get more gold. But that's the roller coaster, and it's really up and down. But if you stay in it long enough, we say those who survive thrive. So you have to survive it. And that wave will eventually make its way up, even though there's some dips. And you just got to stay in it. And there's 3 things I always say: always be marketing, always be learning, and the third and most important thing is just always be taking action.
There you go. That's the magic formula for success in real estate.
Well,
Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on the show today. This has been so much fun catching up. What's the best way for folks to get in touch with you and get your freebie on your website?
Yeah, my freebie. All right.
Your freebie.
So best way to reach out to us is Couples Flipping Houses. You can reach us out on Instagram and Facebook, Couples Flipping Houses. That's where we do a lot of JV opportunities with other investors in our markets, as well as provide a lot of great value. If you want to ask us questions, we are a resource. We don't do coaching, but we're happy to just provide value. But we also are providing a free ebook to anybody who comes to Couples Flipping Houses and just says, hey, I want the ebook. Give us your email. We'll email it over to you. It's an ebook about how to wholesale your first deal with little to no money out of pocket. So those people who want to get their foot in the game and just get going, this is the ebook for you. It's a quick, easy read, easy instructions. And I hope it'll be a great value to a lot of people to get the foot in the game.
Awesome. And I'll put all those links in the show notes too. So thanks again, Jeremy, for coming on the show. It was fun.
My pleasure.
And thanks to all the listeners for coming out today and week after week for coming out and showing your support for this show. And please share this show and leave us a rating and a review. I know you love Jeremy's show. It helps people to find us, and I would really appreciate it. So I will see you all same time, same place next week. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.